The power of stillness. The Buddha critiqued the Brahmins in Hinduism, yet all his great disciples were Brahmins. This makes sense because he attracted the most extraordinary minds of that society. Despite his criticisms, the Brahmins were the elites of society, and the intellectual class of India was largely Brahmin. Sariputra was a Brahmin. Moggallana was a Brahmin. Mahakasyapa was a Brahmin. Did they come to him because they were ignorant, socially ostracized, gamblers, dishonest, or thieves? No. Being wise, they understood that what he said was right. When Sariputra came to him, his 5,000 disciples followed, all of them scholars. He came to challenge the Buddha, and the Buddha warmly welcomed him. What greater honor could there be than to be visited by a great scholar? But the Buddha asked, "Have you experienced the truth, or are you just a scholar? I have heard about you." In a moment of silence, Sariputra looked at the Buddha as if looking into a mirror and said, "I am a great scholar, but as for experiencing the truth, I know nothing yet." The Buddha replied, "That's difficult then." Sariputra, chief disciple of Lord Buddha. Debates only occur when both parties do not know what the truth is. They can argue endlessly, but the truth remains beyond their comprehension. Since neither knows, they can reason and cite scriptures, but like two blind men feeling an elephant, neither truly understands what an elephant is like. At best, one might be wiser or more well-read and thus wins, and the loser becomes the disciple of the winner. But can one really ascertain the truth based on this? There might also be a meeting between two enlightened individuals, but there would be no reason for them to argue. What don't they know that they need to compete over? They might sit together in silence. Perhaps they laugh or hold hands, but there's nothing they need to say to each other. When they look into each other's eyes, they understand there is nothing to say because they both know the same truths and have reached the same realms. So between them, there is only silence. The third scenario is where one knows and the other does not. This situation is challenging because the one who knows cannot truly express in words what the other needs to understand. The one who doesn't know merely wastes their time unnecessarily because they cannot convince the one who knows. The whole world combined cannot persuade the one who knows because they know and you do not. The Buddha said, "You come here with 5,000 disciples and clearly none of you knows, because if someone did, they would not be your disciple but your teacher. You are wiser than them because you are older, so they are your disciples. But how shall we debate? I am ready, and I know. There is only one certainty. You cannot convince me, and there is only one outcome. You will be defeated, so think carefully." But Sariputra was conquered, and he was intelligent enough to realize it. He had defeated many other scholars. The tradition of Indian scholars at the time was to travel and intellectually duel with others. Unless one became the undisputed master of debate, they were not revered by other scholars. But when faced with a Buddha, when standing before one who knows, your borrowed knowledge or how many scholars you have defeated is of no use. The Buddha continued, "I am ready. If you wish, we can begin, but do you have any arguments? I have eyes, you do not. I cannot explain to you what light is. You can have no conception of light. You may hear the word light, but it is utterly meaningless to you. It is completely empty. The ears hear, but the mind does not understand. So if you truly care about the truth and are not concerned with winning or losing, because that is not my concern, I am already home. What do I care for winning or losing with ordinary people? And to what end? If you care about the truth, stay here and follow my guidance. Later, when you have come to know what reality truly is, we might discuss it." But Sariputra being exceedingly intelligent, said, "I realize now that I cannot argue with you, and even later I will not be able to. I have been defeated by you. Right now, I cannot argue because I am blind, but once I have eyes, I will have no need to argue. I ask to be your disciple." He told his 5,000 disciples, "I am no longer your teacher. I have been conquered, and I have asked to be his disciple. Do not think of me as your teacher anymore. If you wish to stay here, receive your ordination from him." Preaching in silence. No language can capture the experience of enlightenment because of its very nature. Enlightenment occurs outside the mind, yet language is a part of the mind. It is experienced in absolute silence. If silence were a language, then surely enlightenment would have its own language too. This language would include silence, bliss, ecstasy, and innocence. But this is not the usual meaning of language. Typically, words are used to suggest ideas. Words cannot express silence. Neither can they capture ecstasy or bliss. Indeed, enlightenment can be seen, understood, and felt, but it cannot be spoken or heard. He had attained enlightenment, that is the truth. When the Buddha attained enlightenment, he remained silent for 7 days. The universe held its breath, waiting to hear him speak, to hear his music, to hear his wordless symphony, to hear the words from the other shore, from truth. Those 7 days stretched as if they were 7 centuries. This event is marvelous, part reality, part myth. Yet, myth does not mean falsehood. There are truths that can only be expressed through myth. He had attained enlightenment. That is the truth. He was silent for 7 days. That is the truth. The universe waiting to hear him is also true, though not everyone can verify it. Only those who are enlightened, who have witnessed this waiting, understand. But the story says that existence rejoices when someone attains enlightenment, for a part of it blooms brilliantly, reaching its highest pinnacle. That is its most magnificent and splendid moment. All of existence longs for the day when all will attain enlightenment, a day that will dispel the darkness, filling all with consciousness and light, shattering all suffering and bringing as many flowers of happiness as possible. Then the story becomes myth, but it holds its own meaning and its own truth. The celestial beings become restless. It's important to understand that Buddhism does not have a supreme God. Jainism also does not believe in just one supreme God. Both believe in many different deities. The concept of these two religions seems more democratic compared to other religions like Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. These 3 religions are quite stingy. One God, one religion, one scripture, one prophet. It seems too monopolistic. Buddhism takes a completely different approach, but is more democratic, more humanistic in its concept that there are millions of deities. Besides you, no one can save you. Indeed, every sentient being will one day become divine. Once enlightened, one becomes divine. Since it does not believe in a creator, Buddhism endows all sentient beings with dignity. You are not puppets. You possess individuality, freedom, and your own dignity. Since no one has created you, no one can destroy you. Thus, apart from yourself, no one can save you. Both Christianity and Judaism entertain the idea of a savior. If there were a God, he would send messengers, prophets, or saviors to save you. Even your salvation is not in your own hands. It takes the form of bondage because someone else will save you, and if salvation depends on another, it is hardly valuable. Freedom must be achieved, not begged for. Freedom must be seized to be deserving, not asked for. If it comes through compassion, that freedom is of little value. Thus, Buddhism needs no God, no savior, but it does recognize countless deities. These are the ones who have attained enlightenment before. From time immemorial, countless beings have achieved enlightenment. They are considered divine. These beings were anxious because the Buddha had remained silent for 7 days. Moreover, it is rare for someone to achieve enlightenment, so the soul of existence itself had to wait, hoping to witness this phenomenon. Thousands of years had passed, and now someone had attained enlightenment. What if the Buddha chose to remain silent forever? This scenario is quite plausible because silence is the only language of enlightenment. It becomes distorted when you bring language into it. This distortion occurs through several stages. First, it is distorted when you pull it down from the heights, from the peak to the dark corners of the mind. The distortion starts there. Its reality is lost by 99% right at that moment. Then when you speak, the distortion occurs again because what you feel in the deepest core of your being is one thing, and trying to share that experience through words is another. For instance, you love someone deeply, but when you say, "I love you," suddenly you feel that the word love is too small, unable to convey all your emotions. You feel embarrassed to have to say it. The distortion occurs a third time when someone else hears it because they have prejudices, have been conditioned, have concepts, have beliefs, have their own ideologies. They will interpret it in their own way. When that idea reaches the listener, it is vastly different from the idea from the high point in your consciousness. By the time it travels through these turbulent paths, it has been completely changed. Hence, many who have attained enlightenment remain silent. Among 100 enlightened beings, maybe only one wishes to speak. The Buddha was that rare individual. He was learned in scriptures and had the gift of eloquence, so his silence would be a tremendous loss to humanity. Thus, the deities came to kneel at his feet and pleaded with him to speak. Existence is waiting, the plants are waiting, the mountains are waiting, the fields, clouds, water, stars, and moon are also waiting. Please do not disappoint everyone. Please do not be so cruel. Please open your heart of compassion and teach them. But the Buddha had his reasons. He said, "I understand your compassion and I also want to speak. Over the past 7 days, I have considered 2 things, to speak or not, and I found that not speaking is best. I see no specific reason to speak because when I do, I will be misunderstood. And if speaking only leads to misunderstanding, why speak at all? I will be cursed. Those who hear me will not listen in the way that the words of an enlightened one must be heard. Listening is a discipline that must be trained. Having ears does not necessarily mean one can listen. And even if someone understands me, they will not follow my words because each step is a danger, like walking on a razor's edge. It's not that I don't want to speak, I just don't see the benefit. I have thought it over, and I have decided not to speak." The deities looked at each other. What the Buddha said was entirely right. They said to each other, "What he says is not wrong, but we still want him to speak. We must find a way to persuade him." Eventually, they concluded. They returned to the Buddha and said, "We have this small suggestion. We also feel ashamed, but please consider it. We think that 99% of humanity will misunderstand you, but you cannot say that all will misunderstand you completely. Please think of that minority. 1% in this vast universe is not small. Perhaps in that 1%, a few may follow in your footsteps. Even if only one person in this entire universe attains enlightenment because of your words, it would be a great achievement. Enlightenment is an invaluable experience, to the extent that if one spends a lifetime helping one person attain enlightenment, it would seem worthwhile. We do not want to ask for too much, just that much. There are a few people, and you know very well like us, who are standing right at the boundary. Just a gentle push, just a little encouragement, with a slim hope that they will step beyond the boundary of darkness, will break free from all bonds, and will find liberation. Please teach them. The Buddha closed his eyes, pondered for a moment, then said, "I cannot deny that scenario. For that minority, I know that my logic, however sound, cannot compare. Therefore, for the rest of my life, if I can help even one person attain enlightenment, I will have created immeasurable merit. I will speak to them. Please rest assured and return." For this reason, the Buddha is often called Shakyamuni, meaning a silent one, Muni, of the Shakya clan, Heinrich Zimmer, Myths and Symbols in Indian Art and Civilization. Conclusion. Lord Buddha preached for over 45 years, and not just one, but many became enlightened. They learned how to listen and mastered the art of silence. They were enlightened not because of his teachings, but because they felt his presence, his energy, his silence, as well as his depth and peak. These people did not achieve enlightenment simply by hearing his words. His words helped them stay in his presence, helping them recognize the beauty in the ordinary words spoken by an enlightened being. Small gestures became grace. Ordinary looks became stunningly meaningful and mysterious. The way the Buddha walked had an unusual quality. The way he slept carried different meanings. These individuals did not try to understand what the Buddha said, but rather they tried to empathize with his essence. His essence was the most real language. Millions heard him and became mere scholars. On the day he entered nirvana, 32 sects appeared. His disciples divided into 32 groups due to different interpretations of his words. They tried to sit together and record what they had heard from him, but these efforts failed. These 32 sects were so varied that it is hard to believe they all came from one speaker, each understanding something different. To this day, these sects still argue with each other. Over 2.5 millennia have passed, and they have not reconciled. Indeed, they no longer understand each other. These sects have become independent philosophies. Each claims, "This is what the world-honored one truly said," and the others have distorted his words. These scriptures are orthodox, while those were compiled by those who do not understand. This is one of the most perplexing aspects. Does anyone understand the language of enlightenment? The essence of an enlightened being is his language. When near him, leave all defenses behind. Open every door of your heart. Let his love grow within you. Let your heartbeat sync with his. Gradually, when you are ready, when you fully trust him, something is revealed that others cannot see. Something happens. Something is not said but heard. Something that cannot be spoken is conveyed through silence.